Well, not a bad day at all for the benchmark Nifty after today's close at 17,118. I would say it was a good day, considering the way it opened, considering the way it bounced and it closed. So let's take a closer look at today's price play. Good evening, traders. 27th of December 2021. A few more days and we'll be heading to an hypothetical new year. Nevertheless, 5:53 p.m. today, I'm making this video a little early. And so what happened? The index opened weak, stayed weak. That was primarily because of the banks, private banks, and we saw what happened with RPL Bank, banks like Bandhan Bank, AU Bank, all of them opened very weak. But then the index bounced back. Pharma was the only rebel pocket of strength at the open. But as it closed, as you can see here, the index slipped below the 17K, went all the way down towards 842 to be precise, 16,842. So 150 points below the psychological 17K mark, but then closed 118 points above that 17K mark. So it was a good comeback, and this comeback would be much more clearer and evident if we take a look at the 75-minute time frame. Remember this red rectangular zone that we had drawn before, calling that this is the resistance zone for the index going forward, which was 17K, 17,100, 150, etc. And so it has faced resistance there once, slipped, and this is the first candle of the day on the 75-minute time frame. We can see how it managed a bounce back, and then it showed leadership. It actually moved pretty well, closed at the highest point of the day because it was a good recovery. The moving averages have started to roll up, which is a positive, a very early yet positive sign for the overall markets. So if this continues, then we should get a proper reversal from the index. But what about levels? Now, of course, this long red candle, as you can see here, the high is 17,160. So 17,150, 160, of course, by default stays as the immediate resistance for the index. And on the downside, today's low will play a very, very important role, because psychologically, sentiment-wise, the index bounced back from a certain level significantly. And if soon the index loses that level, if the index slips and falls below this low, then that will be seen as a sign of further weakness. I would like to bring your attention to this particular volume profile that I've drawn from this particular low to the current candlestick, and we can clearly see that the index has spent a lot of time in this zone. And so on the downside, 16,850, and on the upside, this is around 17,100, 150. This is the kind of range where the volumes have been maximum. So considering the last week of the year, considering FII activities might be is very likely to be on the lighter side, considering also we have derivatives expiry this week, so we may not get a very big trending move, but I think it will be very good for the overall markets if the index just consolidates within this range and manages to hold above that 17K mark. If we get a surprise move further up, then of course we have another level to watch for, which is 17,250 towards 17,350 on the upside. Let me just drag it up here and leave it like this. So interesting early positive signs for a prospective trend reversal from the Nifty, which means that from a smaller time frame, those who trade smaller time frames, intraday and 1 to 2, 3 day kind of trades, can also start to look for pockets of strength, can look for long trades. Now, Bank Nifty has proven itself one more time, that the recent supports, the recent lows, which were the supports, have acted really well, and it led to today's recovery and bounce back also. The chart's taking a little bit of time to open up. So this is the blue band, if you recall. Erstwhile highs and lows multiple times, and today it was an opening low for the Bank Nifty, but within that zone it has managed a recovery. Anchored VWAP is 35,600 odd, That's exactly the earlier lows. That's exactly where we have this gap down. So this move further up has resistance to deal with at 35,600. Considering today's bounce back, considering today's move, the way it opened, the way it played out, and the way it closed, this kind of a move should ideally extend further on the upside. So we should expect the index to deal with 35,600, 35,700 over the next few days. Again, today's low will act as the sentimental trigger for any kind of weakness. I do not see that happening looking at the way prices have played out. So we can see a short-term recovery from the bank nifty, the banking stocks, and the overall markets per se. Few sectors stayed down. Media was weak and it stayed down. It was the biggest loser. It has some pretty good supports. It has down here, so we can look for these supports, look for some stocks which also reaches their respective supports. Energy was down, FMCG, but overall I would say, considering the way the markets have played out, not bad. It was a pretty good day. Maybe it did not gain significant grounds, but overall the recovery was impressive. It's too early to talk about the global markets. The US markets have not even opened, but SGX Nifty is 17,100, just marginally 3 points negative. It doesn't make much sense. Among the top stocks, before I quickly do the scan, Kotak Bank, iBank, Sun Pharma was one stock which was strong throughout the day. And we have some good names from HDFC and Tata Motors. So HDFC is a very important stock, just created some positive divergences. Maybe a last engulfing with this green and red bar, maybe, and we can have some recovery. So important heavyweight stocks are showing signs of a recovery which can support the index. 17K I think will be a good psychological level above which the index will try to close the expiry, the week, and maybe the year. So let's keep that in mind. So if you're going bullish, I would suggest a truncated bullish. You don't need to have a very, very bullish aggressive view, but yes, if we get a couple of bullish calls, bullish trades, then why not? Let's see if we can scan and find anything like that from our InstaView. Now I'll be scanning at the rate of the 3:30 p.m. So I will not be able to scan the delivery percentage because that comes only after the Bhav copy gets updated, which is primarily most of the time post 7:30 p.m. So let's go to the group. Let's scroll down to defined by the NSE. Exchanges defined by NSE, Nifty 200. Let's load the InstaView scanner. There you go, and run. Inside bar, as per today's close, NAM, which is your Nippon Asset Management, not a good picture, honestly, based on the daily chart. Power Grid looks interesting. We cannot call it a bullish Rami pattern, though it is coming here as well. There's not much of a trend, but not bad. The reason I say not bad is uptrend, first uptrend. The gap down and the recovery, and this is the consolidation. So gap down, recovery, consolidation, two inside bars, one after the other. In an uptrending counter, the market's doing good, so can be looked as a prospective bounce back. Sona Comms, all right. Bharat Forge doesn't look so good. It's got a pretty nice engulfing on top there. Tata Motors was struggling, gave a good bounce. Now remember, Tata Motors today's low is 460. Tata Motors Friday's low is also 460. You can see how the moving averages are slowing down. The trend is still positive to sideways. You can see down, up, down, and midway up. So it's essentially trendless. The long-term trend is positive. It's buying time. 460 is a very, very crucial level for the stock from the downside. So any kind of disappointment, and if the stock leaves 460, then you're definitely heading for sub 440 levels. So Tata Motors falls in that category. Ambuja Cement is just slowing down. Not the best of stock. Similar kind of behavior. 370.5 on Thursday, 370.8 on Friday, 370.75 today. So 370.71 has been a very strong resistance for the stock. HDFC, AMC, all right. Wipro is slowing down after the move, which one should not be looking to trade that. And Reliance also kind of. None of these clicks I just went through apart from Power Grid. Power Grid looks decent. Tata Motors also looks decent on the downside. But none of them look that with high conviction, with high confidence. I think primarily because of the fact that the markets overall markets is also struggling to hold itself above that 17K mark, because there was pretty decent amount of volatility in today's trade, opening very weak, staying down and then bouncing back. So I think we will have to deal with this kind of signals for maybe a couple of weeks more. I'm just clicking through the bullish and the bearish Harami pattern now. Exide has created, no, this is not a bearish Harami pattern because there's no downtrend. DV's lab, yes, very weak counter. It's been in a downtrend. Not the best of picks within the sector. There's Sun Pharma and others who've been doing better. But this looks like a decent bullish Harami pattern. I will consider this downtrend the first bounce, and this is a correction. So in case we have a move above today's high, 44.91, maybe a little bit of catch up from DVs, but very short term in nature. Torrent Pharma, too volatile. You can see the amount of distance the stock has been traveling just in a span of days trade. Big sell off, big bounce back. It's all over the place. Definite 31.75, 3200 is the long term breakout. But if you're eyeing to do a new trade, fresh trade, 3200 breakout, 33K as the stop loss, that's quite wide. That's a typical amateurish breakout trade, which I wouldn't suggest. So let's wait for the stock to just slow down, but very good trend. In fact, the weekly charts are also impressive. 3200 is a big breakout for the stock. Balkrishna Industries have created a very neat looking bearish Harami pattern below today's low, 2177. Kadila is just again buying time. We spoke about this bullish Harami pattern. It did give a good move in 1 day's time. It's creating another one, which is a good sign. It's creating bullish Harami pattern back to back. And the last one played out pretty well from an intraday perspective. Let's see how this works. Today's high is 459.85, like 460. PL, Piramal, no, it's kind of flattish for 4 days. Bajaj Holding, not bad. Not bad. I've got a little bit of range expansion, but primarily on the bullish side, considering the long-term trend. 51.29 today's high. Biocon, not really. And Ipca Lab, also not really, because the range is too long. Breakouts, well, quite a few stocks have come up in the list, which have seen contraction of price and drop in volumes also, which can give us a breakout. Now I will be clicking through them just to find if we find anything interesting. You have to just bear with me here because the charts are, because I'm using my other desktop through TeamViewer, there's a slight lag as I click and as the chart opens. Ramco Chem is in a downtrend. The trend reversal for the stock is 1007, so you can put an alert at 1000 for Ramco Chem if you have any kind of interest. ACC probably is trying its best to create a bottom and bounce back. Maybe some divergence is coming in soon. But from a breakout perspective, not the Power Grid we have spoken about some time back, but amongst the others, not really, because it's just an early stage of a bounce, and in early stage of a bounce, breakouts are prone to fail. It's quite a long list we've got from the breakouts. Now, Havells is range bound. We know Havells picks up pretty good momentum. Not a breakout counter for tomorrow, definitely not. But the important level is 1394, 1395. So one can put an alert for Havells at that level as well. I'm going to quickly click through these names and find any stock which has a prospect of giving an idea. It's not a breakout candidate, definitely. The reason I stopped at idea is because this was the first correction after the really encouraging, impressive rally. And then the bounce back, everyone would have expected the stock will rally like this, and it didn't, and it has broken below its previous low. This is where weak hands might get flushed out, and it can give us a move. Maybe not immediately, but eventually between 13 and a half, the stock should bottom out for the next leg up. So beautiful looking doji. after today's close idea. So you should have it in your radar for the next move up. All this move up will definitely sustain and deliver us a move only if the index sustain above 17. LNT is a definite breakout candidate. Maybe again not for tomorrow, but eventually. The reason we are not getting good breakouts for tomorrow is because Friday the index and the stock sold off, and Friday's range was pretty long. Typical LNT example you can see. So any breakout will mean that we have to chase the stock above a certain higher price. So it doesn't make sense, but as I said, breakout candidates definitely, maybe not immediately, but eventually these stocks are likely to give us a move. So you should have them in your list. You should track them daily, and once the move comes, that's when you should act. Sun Pharma also behaving really well. Short-term traders, Godrej Consumer has given us a move which has taken the price above its previous swing highs. Number one, it's going through the first term correction, the short-term correction. Interesting. If 940 holds, we should get the next leg move on the upside. Shree Cement, we spoke about Ramco some time back. Similar kind of a breakout level for Shree Cement is 26,600. Expensive, high price stock, not that liquid, but trends pretty good. Very good counter for your long-term portfolio. So that's about the breakout. Oracle long, Oracle short essentially looks into prospective intraday. Cadila as the long. Not bad. We spoke about Cadila some few minutes back about back-to-back two bullish Rami pattern. Today is also a beautiful looking bullish Rami pattern. One can look at Cadila above today's high, 459.85. So you can use 460. Amongst the short, Gland is definitely showing signs of slowdown. In fact, Gland was picking up in our high delivery percentage also, but this is also a good looking bearish Rami pattern, and possible. It has shown recently some strength, so your downsides should be restricted to just one day. Power Grid, it's primarily one should look for prospective move on the upside. And Bharat Forge, another interesting observation, today's low 677.45, Friday's low 677.25. So 677 for this stock, Bharat Forge, is going to be an important one on the downside. Balkrishna Industries have created a very beautiful looking bearish Rami pattern. 3 days of bounce back, stock in a downtrend, can be looked below yesterday's low. But if you ask me, within this pack, weakness is in Bharat Forge, and it's Bharat Forge, if it breaks below 677, can be looked as an intraday stock which will weaken. So we've got few names. We've got a pretty decent bounce back from the index. It seems like the index wants to expire this December contract, derivatives contract, and the week and the year on a decent note. But remember, we're still in a downtrend. If you take a look at the daily chart, we're still in a downtrend. If you take a look at the 75-minute time frame, that's a lower time frame. That's just about to turn up. Very naive, very nascent time for this uptrend. 17, 130, 150 is the bare minimum it needs to take out and sustain. If you get any signs of bullishness on any particular stock, you can take them going forward for the rest of the week, but keep them limited to intraday or 1 or 2 days, not more than that. We would like to see more strength coming in, and once the trend re-establishes back, sentiment comes back, trend momentum comes back, there will be no dearth of long opportunities going forward. But till then, we have to play carefully and cautiously. Thank you for hearing me out. I hope these videos make sense and helps you to prepare yourself for the next day's trade. Take care of yourselves. Trade well, trade wise.